Ravindranath. He is a professor of ecology at the Indian Institute of Science. Professor, it's a pleasure having you on the program. Now, we've hit one too many thresholds of the hottest day, year, and month. And if this isn't a major sign telling us that we need to make change happen today, I don't know what is.
Yes, scientists have been saying this for many years, maybe nearly a couple of decades, but the action on the ground is very limited. The Paris Agreement is there. It clearly states that we need to really peak the greenhouse gas emissions, carbon dioxide emissions, and reduce very quickly. But the world is moving in the opposite direction.
Talk to us about a bit about the impact this is going to have for generations to come, because we're seeing drought affecting global agriculture, mass floods displacing millions of people, and the extreme heat, it is killing our wildlife.
Yeah, impacts on agriculture could be managed, but impact on nature, biodiversity, oceans, sea level rise, you cannot reverse it. There is very little we can do. If there is a heat stress, we can do, especially for the poor. Rich countries, rich communities can to some extent protect themselves from the heat stress, but poor farmers, poor construction workers, they will be exposed for weeks at a stretch or even months for extreme heats, and it's going to affect their health. And the impact on biodiversity, as I said, is irreversible. Sea level rise is irreversible. So we are into the impacts are in an unknown territory. How I don't think we can really cope with these such impacts, extreme impacts.
Right, and as you mentioned, it's developing countries who bear the brunt of, the effects that these gas emissions are having. The whole continent of Africa, for example, accounts to only 3.8% of greenhouse gas emissions worldwide, while China accounts for 23%, the US 19%, and the EU 13%. And it's Africa that's paying the ultimate price, having to deal with leading climate issues like drought. Do you think they're being compensated enough?
No, in fact, there is a mechanism under the climate convention called loss and damage, but where the rich countries who are responsible for the current warming, they should compensate for any drought, flood. It's like the flood in Pakistan recently, and the droughts, forest fires and so on. But the funding is so little. I think what you need is simply just a drop in the ocean. So I think poor people will have to fend for themselves. Even the governments in many of the developing countries will not be able to help the poor to cope with extreme floods, droughts, cyclones, hurricanes, and heat stress. So unfortunately, poor have been left to fend for themselves.
Professor Ravindranath, thank you so much for being with us here on the NewsHour and sharing that analysis with us.
Thank you.